Hi. There we go. So we've already got folks here, so that's great. I'm going to make this where I can see these little comments, and I will try very much to address questions as they come up. So, welcome everybody. This is Beth Seal of Summer House Stitche Workes, and I know a lot of you have had the privilege and the pleasure to have classes with Beth. We've had her here a few times. We love her, and she will be back in virtual reality here this year soon, and then she'll be back next year and the next year. So we try to book up all of her empty spots.
Date. I know I'm going to North Carolina every year.
There we go. So thank you, Beth, for doing this with us. We really appreciate it. There's a lot of folks excited to be able to have this chance to kind of chat with you, and we have about close to 350 people in this little soiree, so it's been fun.
That is just fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm astounded, overwhelmed, and it's just awesome.
It's great. It's a whole new world when you're not limited by the conventions of how big your little square room is. So,
right.
Yeah. So, all right. So I'm going to be watching questions. I'll try to get them. So and there's people here, so I'll tell you, they're checking in and saying where they're from. There's people from all over the U.S., California, Oregon, Arizona. We've got people from Canada. We've got a couple people from the UK. I feel like we've got at least one Kiwi or Aussie out there, but I can't say for sure, but I think we do. So we've got a nice little representation of people. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, my heart really goes out to everyone out west.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
During all of these fires, and all the photos that I'm seeing from people on Instagram and Facebook, and they're crazy. I tried to call my sister-in-law today. They're in the Bremerton, Washington area, and they were busy, so I didn't get a chance to talk to her. But I was like, "How's your air?" It's really why I was calling, to see how you were doing, and she said it's terrible. But I don't think that they're in any imminent danger, but it's still, the air quality is not good.
No, yeah, I've seen a little bit of the news clips, and it's really unbelievable, even from space, the smoke and everything. So yeah, we'll definitely keep those guys in our thoughts and prayers for sure. That's awful. Crazy times, but on a happy note.
On a happy note, we're all talking stitching today.
We can stitch. So I wanted to show off last year's project. So you can tell us about this one, Beth. I love this. Oh, let me get this over there. You can see it.
This is Harriet's Pin Keep, and it was inspired by an antique sampler that I had. And this poor sampler was absolutely filled with queen stitches.
What do you mean? We love queen stitches.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't love queen stitches. I'm weird. I don't mind them at all. I think they're absolutely beautiful, and it's the whole challenge of learning how to do them. But there's a lot of people out there that don't agree with me.
I know. They've been complaining to me about it this weekend. So
yeah. So what I wanted to do was to just use the sampler for inspiration. Yeah. And I did not know what her name was, because where I'm assuming the name was on the original, it had been cut off. So I just gave it the name of Harriet, after my husband's great-grandmother, who was an avid quilter. My father-in-law says that he always remembers there being a quilting stand in her front room, and she actually made them and sold them, and it was part of her livelihood. So because apparently Brian's great-grandfather gambled the family money away.
It happens.
That's the story. She had to use her own devices, which was quilting, to help support the family. So I just think that she must have been a very strong woman, and so I wanted to remember her in one of my pieces. So I named it Harriet.
Well, that's something that I've noticed you do with a number of your pieces. Is that I mean, they're all original design. Well, you do some reproduction too, but you've got original and reproduction. But you, a lot of times, will tie in some special memory to you from your family, and that makes it. It just feels really nice to me because that makes me think about my own family and my own history, and what it could tie in with in my family too. So I love it when you do that. But you do that on a pretty regular basis, don't you?
Yeah, I do, and our family has always been very good with oral history and just knowing what our ancestors have gone through. And it just, it really makes you sit back and think. I had one, I think he was my great uncle. He was actually handicapped, and he did not have the use of his legs. So he actually got around the mountains of central Pennsylvania on his hands, dragging his body. He wore bear gloves, gloves made out of bear paws, so that he had a lot of cushion. And he was a homesteader in North Dakota.
That's amazing. Huh.
Yes. He was he panned for gold. He was just a really amazing guy. So someday there's going to be something that pertains back to him, because he also wrote poetry, and we have a lot of his poems.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, he would send them to our local newspaper, and at that time they printed that kind of thing. So we've actually scoured the old newspapers to find his poetry, and it's just really neat to think of what all he went through, and and he did it.
Yeah.
So it's always fun to tie things in. And speaking of tying in things about the family, I'll go ahead and show you the piece. This is going to be our class piece.
Okay, I'm going to put you full screen.
This is Bountiful Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
This is what we're going to be doing for the class at Sassy Jacks in November, the one that is now virtual on Zoom. But it's going to be fun, and we can get through this. So this is the candle mat, and you can see the year is 1621, and that was the first year that we had Thanksgiving here in the United States. So not whenever it became an official holiday, though. That was not done until Abraham Lincoln, and I can't quite remember the year, but it was 1863, I think, is whenever he is something like that. Yeah. But and then this is the main course. So and
no pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. This is the main course. So, and this is a Lahaye shaker box.
That's beautiful.
And so, his boxes are just absolutely gorgeous. And then on the inside, and he puts his stamp right in the center. So I did not want to cover that up. So we're actually going to put a lining on the inside just to give it a little spark of color. But not to take away anything inside the box.
That's beautiful.
So
I love that.
That piece, there's the little candle mat, which is really pumpkin pie. You can see it's all the pumpkins and pumpkin leaves. And then you can't have Thanksgiving without cranberry sauce.
Oh, wow. That's so sweet. I love that.
A little scissor fob.
Oh, that's really nice. That's beautiful. And a little pin cushion.
Yeah, and a little pin cushion at the same time. It's just a really sweet thing. It's one of those things that after I designed it, because I was just playing around and went, oh my God, this is So, and then there's a few, there's one more little surprise, but you have to take the class to find that one out.
Okay. And that people are asking if there are still openings, and there are. And I promised Beth I would have it posted before this, and I don't. But I will get it posted tonight for you guys. And we do still have some spots left in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are limited by the number of boxes, but so.
Yeah, we're limited with that. And one one kind of really fun thing about this is whenever I designed it, the retreat that I designed it for originally, they were tired of doing things for Christmas, and they just felt like Thanksgiving it got swept under the carpet.
Yeah.
Well, in our family, especially my daughter, Thanksgiving is the best holiday of the year.
Yeah.
She always says it's because there's none of that other stuff.
Right.
It's us and food.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that my oldest is a chef. So, yeah, food's kind of important to us.
Yeah.
And this past year, actually, I said, okay, I'm done cooking. You know, it's time for you kids to do the cooking. So it was mostly my oldest Shane and our daughter Laura who did a lot of the cooking. Mm-hmm. And Shane, we tried something different. We did a turkey rondelette. I probably just butchered that.
What is that?
What he did is he pounded out the turkey breast, and then we put the stuffing inside it, and then rolled it.
Oh, wow.
And tied it so that it keeps that roll, and then roast it that way.
That sounds good.
And then it's these nice, beautiful slices, you know, and it just looks so pretty on the plate and everything. So, but we've had to change up our Thanksgiving food a little bit, so that's why I thought, well, we'll try something different, because Shane, my oldest, he has Crohn's disease, so he has some trigger foods, onions being one of them, and that's just such a staple part of
it is. Yeah.
So we've changed that up a little bit, and then our daughter Laura is gluten-free, and she doesn't just do it on a whim. No, she has to be gluten-free.
Yeah.
So stuffing. So we've taken to a lot of times where we'll just stuff a full turkey with fruits like apples and oranges and lemons, and then put in onion and celery and, you know, all the normal rosemary, sage, and thyme herb, and roast it that way. And it's very good, but it's not quite the same.
It sounds good. Like I want that for dinner now.
My husband and I have been doing a diet. We've been just really watching. He actually signed up for the Noom, and I looked at it and said, no, we'll just do yours. We don't need to both sign up.
Yeah.
So, and we've been doing really well. And we've been doing it for about 6 weeks now. And so we both decided that it was time for a red food day. So we had pizza today.
Good for you. Good.
I mean, after 6 weeks, it's like,
After 6 weeks, gosh. Take a break.
Yeah, we were ready to take a break.
Yeah.
And whenever he got home from class today, we decided we were just going to go ahead and eat early, and I pretty much skipped lunch, so.
Yeah. Well, my helper, Andrea, actually brought me lunch today. That was really nice. So I was like, that's awesome. And it was a great lunch. It had grapes, and anyway, it was a good lunch because, you know, it was hard to get out. So that was really a treat.
Yes.
But,
well, you know, that's one of the things I'm going to miss the most about not going down to teach it physically. And that is the cafe that's right across the street or right beside you.
Yeah.
That place is just spectacular.
Well bred, yeah, they're pretty good. And last year when you were here, it was my birthday, I think. And so I remember I had a big cake. I think you were here on August 3rd or something like that, right around in there.
Yes. Yeah.
And we had a big cake that was, I brought my own cake. So it was like, happy birthday, Kim. I was like, yes.
Well, that way you know you get what you want.
Yeah, and I shared it, and it was all good, so that's awesome. But
so you want to show what's going to be the class for next year?
Yeah. Before we do that, they were asking about the box, and a couple people have already answered that. Polly answered it for us too, but it definitely is a Lahaye box.
Yeah,
and they are beautiful craftsmanship. So
yes, made in Maine, and Rob Lahaye, as far as I know, is a one-man band. I don't think he has anybody that works for him, or if he does, it's very minimal. And yeah, just they're beautifully constructed.
They are gorgeous. They are.
I'll show you one more time just so you can see it. So yes, yeah, really nice. And this is a smaller size. I don't remember if this is a 0 or a 1, but it is one of the smaller sizes. But that's what makes it just so nice and petite. And you can just set it on a side table. You can put it on your stitching table, and for the season, and put everything, all of your scissors and little doodads that we have.
Yeah, I love it.
Corral them all in there.
All right, I'll make you full screen and you can show.
Okay.
Next one. Oh, that was me. We don't want me. Hold on. There we go.
Okay, so this is the next one. This is Crowning Glory, and it is a nice little box, and we're going to cover the box in class. This is done with hand pressed papers, so they're really beautiful to work with. And inside, and we're going to cover the whole thing. And inside, and it's, I don't know if you can see it from the light. I can get the light right at the right spot, but there is a velvet cushion inside.
Nice.
And then this.
I love that.
De resistance. Mine isn't completely in here because during classes I wanted to be able to take it out.
Yeah.
So now I have to just watch whenever I tip it up. So yes.
That's beautiful.
It is a little crown, a little pierced tin crown, and then the little crown piece.
I love that. That's gorgeous.
It's a fun little piece.
And then beautiful. Oh wow, the bottom too. That's nice.
I have to, take care of every surface. And then along with this, we also do a little scissor fob, which I forgot to pull it. Yeah. So it's a stitched one, so it's a whole different process, which is another thing I like to do because I like to win something that's just a little different, so you can learn something else at the same time.
Somebody in the soiree has that stitched, and she showed it today.
Oh,
so yeah.
Well, I know that there were some ladies from the Delaware Valley.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And I went down there last November, I think it was. Yes, and taught this there, and nice group of ladies. So hi, if any of you are here. But yeah, it's a really fun project.
And somebody just brought up something else that is kind of unique to you, I feel like, in a lot of ways, is they said that they loved that class and that they left with a finished piece. And that's very possible. Like mine was finished, which never, ever happened. So I think that's really cool that, a lot of your classes, people do walk out with either finished or very near to finished pieces, which is fantastic.
Yes. And I hope that as class pieces, these are, you're learning some fundamental finishing techniques. So then you can take those techniques and use them in your other projects. Yeah. So that's really my goal with them, is to show how you can learn things. And that's why I like to throw in some different things, because then you can learn how to enhance your projects with some other simple little projects.
Yeah, and I was telling one of the groups today that that's exactly what I've done. Like, there haven't been a lot of other classes where I've been taught a technique that I've walked out of there and felt really competent to do it. But your classes I have, and I have used them, as for some.
I'm glad.
Yeah, for some of the things in our giveaways and stuff like that, I've been able to create some things using the techniques that you taught us. So I think it's a great opportunity for people who want to learn a little bit of finishing in a safe place, where you've got somebody who can help you, and it's a manageable size project, so.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. And always lots of fun. And you always learn something. So that's one thing I always tell people. If you don't have the pre-stitching done, come to the class anyway, because you're going to pick up so many tips about the project and learn where everybody else makes their mistakes. And so you're going to be, forewarned whenever you do get to finish your project, then that you're going to go, oh yeah, I made a note that says not to do that. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That. So yeah, always make sure you come, because you're going to learn something, even if you're, just watching and just taking it on.
Last year, I think, was the first one of the ones that you've done here where I actually did have my stitching finished. And the other two where you've taught here, I came with it mostly done, not all the way done. But you're exactly right. I learned a ton in there, and the other people who might not have had it done did the same. But the pre-stitching, most people are able to finish it. They're always, a reasonable project. So,
and for Bountiful Thanksgiving, if you decide that you're going to be taking this class and you go, oh, I don't think I'm going to get all of that stitching done, the biggest thing you need to get done is the outside border, because you can actually stitch the rest after we do the hem stitch / nun stitch.
Okay. Yeah, so that's good to remember.
That's the biggest thing. And I'll put that in the notes too.
Okay. Good.
So people can, whenever they're looking at it going, oh, I had really good thoughts that I was going to get this done, but no, because, we know how life goes.
Yeah.
You think that it's going smoothly, something comes up.
Yeah.
It's things, it's not even little things, it's things like COVID and force fires and hurricanes.
Yeah. Well, there's some people that talk about buffering, so I guess some people are having problems, and it's probably the time of day wherever they are. I know that we're not having trouble freezing. So for you guys that are seeing buffering, I think when you go back and rewatch the video later as it's recorded, you won't have a problem with that, because Beth and I aren't freezing up. We're fine, so don't worry too much about it. We will accept you back after your buffer stops, so it's okay. Just hang in there with us, and you can watch it later. But so very exciting. And I know these guys are already asking here in the comments too, do we have places? And yes, we have places. Oh, Susan finished hers too. Susan Chamolis, she was in our class here last year. Yeah, so that's awesome. And grandma's purse, I think is what you call it. Grandma's heart is what you called it. Was such a beautiful project. Oh, that was beautiful. And we do actually still have a few of those kits. Do you have one finished there?
I do. Just
okay. Sorry, I sprung that on her. So, guys, I promise I'll get the registration posted tonight. So don't worry. But yeah, the one that she's getting ready to show you, we actually do have a few kits for this one in the shop. So if you love this one, this was beautiful.
This is Grandma's coat. This is the front and the back. And when you open it up, it all opens up to reveal some wool, and you can use it for a needle book. So it's just a really, really fun project. And this was all inspired by my grandmother's needle book that she had. And she was not a sewer, so it was one that was given to her by one of my great great aunts. And so yeah, it's a special piece to me, because it was something that as a kid I would sit, and I guess I must have been pretty bored, but I was just amazed by how that all went together. So it was a lot of fun to figure out how to do it, and then to be able to say, okay, we're going to have this as a class. So it was a fun project.
That's really a beautiful one. Yeah. So I mean, if you guys get a chance to take that somewhere, definitely do. And if you think you can get through the instructions, and Beth gives really good instructions. We do have, I don't know, we might have 3 of those kits around here, but you do good instructions, so I think they could probably get through it. But so fun stuff. So I know you've got some designing that you've been working on too recently.
Okay, so Um, one thing about whenever you have snow in May, you just say, okay, what do I do with this snow in May? Because it's killing my azaleas and all of my flowers. And so I just kind of embraced it and said, I'm going to do some winter Christmas type designs. So coming in October, there's going to be 3 Christmas designs coming out. And this is the first one.
Oh,
Excuse
wow.
it, is not completely framed yet. I just kind of threw it in the frame so you could see it framed.
That's beautiful.
But this is Rose Air Blooming. And the verse on it, it says, "It came a flower bright amid the cold of winter," which if you know the hymn, the carol, Rose Air Blooming, it comes from that, which has always been one of my favorites. So yeah, it's
That's really beautiful.
a nice one. Yeah, it's one of those I just go, oh, this is so nice. I hated sending it out to a model stitcher because
You
I
wanted to
said,
stitch it. Yeah.
but I don't have time.
Yeah.
I don't have. There's also this little ditty coming out,
Oh,
and
how
this is
sweet.
winter,
I love that.
and I have finishing kits for it, which have the backing fabric and this nice little vintage type garland and the charm. So
Well, that's another thing that you do that I think is fantastic. And I'm actually stitching Ladies Garden Journal right now. And that's my personal fun stitch right now. And I finished the cover, and I think I stitched most of the first one, which I know I'm behind. But I love it. But the thing that's really cool about that is the finishing kit that you provided. So, I think you've done that on a number of things. You did that on the drums, you did that on Harriet's pincushion, you've done that on several different things. And they are all fantastic, and it makes it so easy to actually put it together and get it finished. So, thank you for doing that. And the instructions that you put in there were really good too. So, I'm looking forward to putting the book together for the garden journal. So,
yeah, it's fun. It is really, really fun. And then just to open it all up and I don't have well, we do have a mantle, but it's actually in my husband's office. So I don't really get to decorate it. It's stuff that's on there. But I think as a mantle display, or if you have a large sideboard, I can really see it being displayed on those, and it's really nice.
So that kit that you were just showing, I mean, I'm glad you do that. I guess that's what I'm saying. I'm glad that you provide the finishing kits for some of those things, because it makes it very accessible, which is nice.
And a lot of times I try to find something that's a little bit different. I mean, like with this, it's got this garland, and so it's not something that you can readily just go out and buy.
Yeah.
So to have the finishing kit just makes it more usable. So, and then last but not least, there's going to be some little biscornoos.
A biscornoo. Yay.
Yeah. This is going to actually be a set of 3.
That's nice.
That is included in this chart. So, but I don't have the other 2 done yet, so I will need to get on the stick and finish them up. I have one half, top or bottom of each one done.
Yeah.
It takes 2 to be a biscornoo.
Yeah.
So I need to get busy.
That's fun. That's one of the that's actually the kit that we provided for the soiree, was a little biscornoo. So they're learning how to finish a biscornoo.
I love doing biscornoos.
They're not hard.
They're not hard at all. And I remember the first one that I did, after I had it done, I was just like, wow, this was so much fun, and I want to do another one.
Yeah. Once you realize it's not really terrible, because it does look intimidating. They do, but they're not. They're pretty straightforward.
No.
So, well, those are all beautiful. That's exciting.
Yes. So, would you like to see some things that are coming?
Yes.
At Nashville.
Yes.
I'm not going to promise anything at this point for Nashville, but I do have a few things. So I'm going to share my screen so that
let me put you back up there to your full screen.
Do that. Why is it not letting me do it? Okay. Okay, can you see it?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay, let's try it again. I've granted access, but it doesn't want to do it. Now, it did it yesterday.
Yeah, did it in practice. See, that's what happened to me earlier today. Don't feel bad because I practiced everything and then something went wrong for me earlier today too.
Oh, I had photos that I was going to share. That's really just, I don't understand. Whenever it was working just fine yesterday, but then it's not letting me do it. So,
I'm sorry.
well, we'll just move on.
Aww.
Move on.
Aww.
And I won't sit here and try to play with it, but yeah, wow, that's ridiculous.
It happens. It happens.
Okay. Well, we won't take up time with that. Let's see here. What else was I going to share with you? We were talking about family things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I showed this to you yesterday.
You did, which is breathtaking.
This, there's probably going to be just a little bit of the glare because there's glass on it, and there about it. So this was stitched, and I'm going to try to get it even closer. I don't know. Can you see how small those stitches are?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is like a 56 count. I've never tried to count it, or higher. It is just incredibly small. But this was a piece that my great-great-grandmother did. And she made it on her 18th birthday because that's what the date is. And I found this when it was really the inspiration piece that got me to really love stitching.
Mm-hmm.
I visiting with my grandparents, and my grandfather was showing me the family Bible. And as we were reading through it, this fell out. And he had never seen it before.
That gave me chills when you told me that the first time. It's just an amazing story.
So it was like it was made for me. So he actually gave it to me. And, I mean, we just had such a fun day just trying to figure everything out with it. And the fact that, I mean, it even has his handwriting on it down below here because he wasn't sure if this was a 7 or 9, and so then we were looking at dates as to, and just trying to figure it out. So he wrote up above it a 9, but it's really a 7. And he also did not realize that F's were S's, which, being Pennsylvania German heritage, I'm really surprised he didn't realize that, but I guess he had never seen them written that way.
Yeah.
He, also trying to figure out what those F's were. So yeah, this is just a really, really, really special piece to me. And as I was telling Kim yesterday, I thought I lost it. When we moved here, I try to be really careful with all of my needlework because we actually had to put everything into storage for a few weeks as, we're getting rid of one house, and then we had a niece's wedding in between before we were able to close on the house we're in now. And so I was really careful with all of my needlework. It all went to my daughter's house. And I could not understand why I couldn't find this piece. And I was just sick because, it's small.
Yeah.
Thinking, oh my God, it must have gotten, just lost in the paper. But we're really careful that we take all of our packing paper and spread it out. And then we try to give it to somebody else who's moving.
Right,
so,
yeah.
Being recycled.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find it. So thankfully, we had COVID, and I've been going through things in closets because I have extra time because I'm not going to retreats and classes and everything.
Yeah.
And what did I find in my old camera box? But this.
Yeah.
It was all still nicely wrapped in its little box. And of course, because it was a camera, it also did not go into the storage unit.
Yeah, I'm sure you did that intentionally. You put it in a safe place that you knew where you would have it, and it was padded, it was protected, and
yeah. So believe me, this is I definitely did the happy dance whenever I found it, because I was so elated, because I just didn't even want to tell anybody that I thought I had lost it, because it was like, no, I could not have lost one of my most treasured things.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad you found it. I'm glad you found
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I think
So
the story of how you came across it the first time, though, is just amazing.
yeah, and
Uh,
it's really a special memory. I always had such a good time going to my grandparents' house, and actually that is where the name Summer House Stitche Workes
oh, really?
comes. Yes, because they had a summer house, um, in their backyard. It's an old. It actually, their house started out as a log cabin and had been built onto. So it was a really old home, and they had a summer house. And there really wasn't much out there except for the things when my grandparents had redone their kitchen in the 50s. The cook stove went out to the summer house, and
Hmm.
just a lot of things, the huge cupboard and everything. All of that stuff went out there to the summer house. So that was kind of our playhouse when we went there. And my grandmother had pots and pans in the closet, and my sister and I would play house. So it was just always a really magical place. And so whenever I was thinking of names, Summer House Stitche Workes came to me.
Yeah. That's neat. I've
So,
neher heard that story. That's pretty cool.
yep, yep. So it all goes back to there.
I've met your sister before. She's pretty neat. I met her at the prim retreat. I can see the two of you playing there together.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, and there were old radios in there, like the old kind that you would, just sit and listen to as a family,
Hmm.
and it was really a fun place. It was also where my grandmother did all of her potting and everything, so her
Hmm.
pots, and all of her gardening utensils were in there and everything. So it was a fun place.
That's neat. It's nice that you've got that kind of memory surrounding that too. That's pretty neat. And that's very much reflected in, I think, your approach to design, that nostalgia and home and family. So that's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And in fact, I use a lot of my grandparents' slides as background photos
Oh,
with things.
wow.
So sometimes if you ever, see something, I'm trying to think of one that would have it on. Let me think here. Winter Cometh.
Okay.
If you look at my Winter Cometh
Okay.
pamphlet, of course I don't
I
have
will
one.
go get that when we finish this and look at that. Yeah.
The very top of that, I think, is a winter scene of. I think it's looking out into their backyard, because they had lovely gardens.
Hmm.
They're just tremendous gardeners, and so I'm trying to think of another one. Of course, I don't remember the names of my charts. It was a Thanksgiving one that I did. Here, I'll look it up real quick. That I did back in 2018. What was it called? We Gather Together.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
yeah. That one has. It's in the valley where I grew up, and it's just a field. But they one of them or both of them had a really good eye with photography. So I scanned all of their slides at one point,
Uh
which, well, that was a couple-year project to get it all
huh.
done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's fun to go through them and then to pick something out and use it. So,
Excellent. I
yeah,
like that history. That's pretty neat.
yeah, yeah. So I do have some other antiques to show
Okay.
you, if I can pull them up. Well, I can't show you the one because I can't seem to share my screen.
Sorry. Oh, I'm going to pitch full screen here.
Yeah, can you put it full
Yeah,
screen?
there you go.
I'll kind of, I don't want to talk behind it or you won't be able to hear me. This one it's actually a needlepoint piece. And there's the year, if you can see it,
Oh,
is
wow.
1922. And I don't know when I'm going to reproduce this, or well, maybe it won't be like a full reproduction, but it's going to be definitely something that inspires a piece.
It's beautiful.
And it is. And you can see
wow, look at the colors.
The colors are just incredible.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So I think that will make a really nice piece at some point. It might have to wait till 2022, so that is 100 years old. I don't know. The geek in me just says no. You have to make that a reality.
Yeah.
And then next, this one is Sarah Hansen, and I'm trying to remember the year. Oh, 1842.
Oh, that's
and she's
pretty.
10 years old, and this one has glass on it. So
okay. Maybe lean it back a little bit or lean it forward, one of the two. Maybe forward, yeah.
I get that one. So there's just going to be a spot on there.
That's okay.
But I'll move it up. It has a wonderful old red house and trees. Yeah, the reflection is Kim.
I'm in the sampler.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just a really lovely
piece.
That's
beautiful.
And I've not done anything with this one.
Oh, that's really pretty.
It just hasn't happened yet. Every time I think that I'm going to do something with it, then something else shows up. And I get a different idea. And so Sarah just hangs on the wall, and I enjoy her myself. So eventually, I'm sure that at some point I will do something with her, because she has a lot of really cool elements.
She's beautiful. She really, really is.
Yeah. And she came from North Carolina, not originally. She's English.
Yeah.
I did find on the back somewhere. Oh, yes. HS Porch. Portch, picture framer, and it's 20 Station Road, Bexhill. So Bexhill 813 was the telephone number. But yeah, she's English, so I'm sure somebody imported her,
or maybe brought her over.
Yeah, somebody somehow she got over here, because that framing was probably done from the topography. It looks
1920s or so.
Yeah, 1930s.
Yeah,
somewhere in there.
Now, so there's a good question. When you have an antique like that, do you leave them in their frames, or is it?
It depends.
Yeah.
There are some that they come out of the antique store and are immediately ripped out of their frames.
Yeah.
Because they're so badly framed, and you can see the cardboard and whatnot, and it's just like she is screaming to get out of all of that acid bath she's been living in for years.
Yeah.
So, there's definitely some that have gone out of the frame immediately. Now this one isn't framed badly.
No, it doesn't look bad. It looks fine.
So I've never ripped that one open. And I do have some that are actually framed glass to glass and sampler inside, and so I've just left those because I figured that they're probably okay. And they're kind of, they're fun to work with just because
you can see the back.
I can see the back.
Yeah.
And I don't have to really, open them up to see the back. So, yeah.
I really struggled. I have a couple of really beautiful darning samplers from Europe, and I really wanted to be able to display them. And I struggled so much with how to do that because they had little edges on them, like little hand stitched lace on the edges. And so I didn't want to cover up the edges, and you need to see the back of those to be able to see them. We ended up actually cutting open an acid-free cardstock so that you could see the back, but we left enough of an edge so that we could tack it on there, sew it on there, and show the little needle lace on the edge. That was the compromise. And that was hard. So sometimes the whole framing thing is a challenge. And those have never been in frames. They've always been out of a frame in a basket, something like with their traditional use, to illustrate the stitches and stuff. But So yeah, I'm always torn as to whether to unframe something or not, and most of the time I end up unframing it. And I haven't had any great tragedies. I did have one that tore on a nail, but it was salvageable. And it's fine. Most people who see it don't even notice it. It hangs in the shop, and nobody's ever said, "Is that a tear?" Nobody's ever said that. So that's always a challenge to think about what to do with them and whether they're safe or stable, and will you do more harm than good. And
Yes.
so
And actually, Oline Marie
I love
Tyan,
that one too. Yeah.
yes, that one, she was actually glued around the perimeter. And so both my daughter and I worked on it together to just gently, gently, gently get under there and pull it back. I mean, we didn't want to rip any of the linen or anything, but I guess maybe it was a good thing that it had been glued a long time ago, and so the glue was actually crystallizing.
Okay.
And so it definitely let go as we would give it a little bit of force. We were just worried that it was glued the whole way in, and so we were ecstatic when we found that it was only glued on the perimeter.
Yeah. That's scary. I've only had one of those, and it unfortunately was an Ackworth.
Oh no!
And that was heart. That was heart stopping. We were we were overseas, and I bought it over there, and I bought it from Erna Hiscock, and I was trying to get it off the board so I could bring it home. And man, that was a night. We used a hairdryer and warmed up the glue, and very carefully did the same thing. We just had to pull it off. But you know what? You just kind of had to make a decision and move forward. I mean. What were you going to do? We couldn't leave it on there and, get it home at the same time. So, and I wasn't going to ship it, but it worked out fine. It also hangs in the shop. It's got some of that glue paper stuff still on the back, but nobody sees it. And, it's fine. It's much better off now than it was when I found it. And so when I'm thinking about antiques, that's kind of where my head is do no harm. I kind of use the doctors, what I've heard, do no harm, and I try to preserve it.
Yes.
So.
And sometimes that's what I look for. Usually the sampler has to speak to me in some way, and it will say, me, you want me. But I just feel connected more to the ones that are not in pristine condition, and to me they're the ones that really need to be reproduced so that they're not lost, and to do something so that there's some continuation with that particular sampler, even though I don't have any idea who the girl is or what her story is or anything about her, but it's a really interesting collaboration to do whenever you're working. Your teammate is somebody that lived centuries ago.
Yeah, that's something that's came up over this weekend too, is kind of how you feel when you're actually working with some of the antiques, and you start to get a feel for either the young girl that stitched it, oftentimes a girl, sometimes a boy, or the time period. You start to feel a little connected to history, which I think is the most beautiful part of the experience. And I think a stitcher feels that way too, because in a way, when I stitch something that's, whether it doesn't have to be a reproduction, it can be inspired by, like, I really enjoyed stitching this because I knew the history that you told us, and you can tell by looking at it that it's based on things from another time period in a way, and there's a lot of beauty there. But I start to feel just very connected to many, many good things from the past. It's just really interesting. So,
yeah, it is, and that's why I really like to working with them, because it is, and I don't make it my full blown work, because I like to do my own creativity as well. But it's just really nice to have that experience of working with them, and making the decisions. They're, even the ones that I reproduce, they're by no means exact reproductions,
Right.
because I make them so that they can be stitched easily today. And I'm not going to try to explain to you, oh, they screwed up here. And oh, they didn't cross their X's the way they should have.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to write that into the instructions. And
Right.
and to me, it doesn't need to be reproduced like that, because for the most part, you're enjoying the look of the piece.
Yeah. But I think a lot of that shows through your work, because I know, most of your I guess your work is original design, but it all feels to me very familiar and based in history, and like I see influences from, like you were talking about your family, and I just think that's really cool how you do that. It's all really neat. Oh, I can't hear you. I must have lost something here. Maybe it's because there's noise outside my shop. I'm sorry. You guys probably heard that. I think there's a loud truck out there or something. Main Street Americana.
Yeah, I think I heard a truck. So
sorry. Sorry. Somebody said, "Don't you wonder which stitcher did the first red house?"
Yes. And I just always wonder what the girl would think if she could see us, poring over her piece and studying it, and just the whole thing. What? They want to stitch my piece?
I hated that.
I hated it. That wasn't much fun at all.
Yeah.
I had to do that.
Yeah, because they did. A lot of them had to do it. They didn't do it for pleasure, most of them. But yeah, no, I'm sure they wouldn't appreciate that at all.
Yeah. There's one, you were talking about Ackworth a little while ago, and studying Ackworth samplers. Carol Humphrey's books, I know she has some samplers that were done by the same stitcher. Mm-hmm. And okay, so they were the avid ones. They were the ones that really, they were us.
Yeah, that's true.
Really stitching. And then some of the other ones were, the smaller the piece, probably the more we've had to do this.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So now, next year you're coming here, and next year one of your friends is coming here, Kathy Halberman. And then I think the following year, aren't you guys coming about the same time here in 2022?
In 2022.
We'll have to look at that. I can't remember. I think we talked about that at some point.
I don't remember.
It's a long time out, and a lot of things have happened.
Well, I know next year, I think Kathy's there in July, and I'm there in August.
Yeah, you guys are here at different times next year in 2021. Yeah. But maybe we haven't put it on the calendar yet, but I know one time we talked about you guys kind of coming together, which will be fun. So
yeah, that would be really fun.
And you guys do great workshops together at Market, so that's always good, always fun. Yeah. And this year at Market, you kind of did. You each did a patriotic design, and then you issued a joint thread kit, which was pretty neat, sulky thread. So
yes, well, we were hearing from people that, okay, I've bought this thread, now what do I do with it? Because I don't know where else I'm going to use it. So we really wanted to make that thread worth it for people.
Yeah.
So that's what we decided to do. And we were both planning on doing a sulky pack, and we got to talking about it. It's like, well, why don't we use the same colors?
Yeah.
And then, that was, we really had to sit down and look at the colors, because Kathy's colors are a little bit different than what I normally use. Mm-hmm. And not that I don't use some ones that are brighter, but a lot of times our palettes, you wouldn't think that they would really match, but they did. I mean, we didn't have a whole lot of discussion as to, it's like, well, I'm going to need this, this many greens, and I'm going to need this, and I'm going to need that. And then it was just pulling, and then I think we had another session where after we had really gotten into the design aspect of saying, okay, we need to change up this color and this color. But yeah, it actually went together pretty easily. So
Yeah. No, I mean, the palette looks great. And so I have a question for you because it's right in front of me. I'm looking at it. I bet your sister suffragette sales have jumped up this year.
yes, yeah,
I
definitely.
love that one. I actually started stitching it recently, but we've sold a ton of those. I mean, that's been pretty. This is
Yes,
the year. I love the design
yes,
though. I thought that was very innovative. I like that you gave it, like three different options for, Canada, us, and who's the other one?
oh, six. There's six options
Six.
in
Okay, I'm just looking at the front. So
France, Netherlands, UK, Canada, US, and Australia.
that's awesome.
Yes,
That's great. I love that one. So I know that one's been popular.
yeah, yeah.
A lot of fun. So, of your original designs, what's your favorite?
Mm,
That's like asking you to choose between your kids, I know, but.
yeah. Well, of my original ones. Hmm. Hmm.
Or
I
your
don't know.
reproductions, either way.
One one that's really special to me is the Persian bird.
Yes. I actually still have one of those in the shop.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was one that I actually stitched that one myself, and really, I don't want to say struggled with it, but it was one that really had to go through the full design process. I had an idea in my head, and then, I had done some thumbnails, I did my usual, and then went to the computer, and it just was not coming together. So it was one that I had to sit and draw out more by hand
Hmm.
than a lot of the other ones. So I really like that one. That one's pretty special
That
to
one's
me.
neat because it had the feather in there with it.
It's
Yeah.
got the feather in it. So
Yeah.
again, I would try to throw something
How many
something.
how many feathers did you have to go buy and collect for that?
Well, I found a source.
Okay.
It was a
Poor
lady
little
who,
bird has no
yeah,
tail feathers left at
yeah,
all.
she had a peacock feather, and I did not realize, but peacocks actually shed their feathers once a
Okay.
year.
So that's humane.
So yes, yes, so no feathers were harmed in the production of the Persian bird.
Poor little naked bird. That's good.
Yes, yes. There were no little naked birds running around. So yeah, that one, and I really love Lady's Garden Journal.
Yeah, I do
Um,
too.
and I think part of that is because that was one that's been in my head, and just trying to figure out how I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And it's a total 360 degrees from where I started with
Hmm.
that one. I actually had the first two designed for years,
Hmm.
and stitched.
Wow.
So it was just okay. I can't sit on these designs any longer. We
Yeah.
need to make decisions as to what we're going to do. So, and I'm glad that this was actually turned out to be a really good year to do it, just because they were consecutively coming out.
Yeah.
So I think, hopefully gave stitchers something to look forward to.
Yeah.
That, yeah, I've got another flower coming out. Um,
I love it. And it's very, again, it's a beautiful size. It's very manageable, and I love the finish. I can't wait to actually have some more time to sit and stitch on that. That's been a pleasure to stitch. And that's one thing that I will say about a lot of your designs is that they are great for, people who are just kind of beginners and intermediates. I mean, it's very manageable, the size, the type of stitches, and stunningly beautiful. I mean, they're all so beautiful. So they're a great, great thing to start. And in fact, I usually, if I have somebody who's come in who's looking for like their first project really, and they're not a super young person, like a 12-year-old or something, they're an adult. I take them to like your Virtues and some of those. I love those. And one of my friends from Raleigh's in the Soiree, and she came in last night and she was like, "We can't find the 2020." And they were mad at me because they thought I didn't have them. And I took them right to them, they'd walk by them, and she picked up every single one of them. People love those. So that's been a great series. You've done that. I know I've seen 2016 through 2020. So,
Um, well, actually, 2014
Okay, so
slash.
it goes back earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the first fragments in time were over 2 years. Because when I first thought about them, I thought, okay, I'm going to release these in off times, and then um, I decided that over a 2 year span was just too long. So then in 2016, I did them all at once. But the problem with them was they were all different sizes. So they didn't go together in a border. And I found out people really like that border.
Yeah.
So it's been a learning curve here, but I'm trainable. So 2017, that was, went on the first size and everything of the first set, but they all came out in a year, and then I've just continued that same that same structure every year. So and I'm continuing it for
That was the
2021.
next question. That was a leading question.
Already have the concepts. Actually, my daughter and I brainstormed next year's on our way home from Nashville this year.
Great.
So, yeah, car time like that is a really good brainstorming time.
Yeah, we do a
Um,
lot of that back and forth to market. Usually, when we're coming back from market, we're trying to figure out where we're going to put everything. And so we build new displays in our head. We're like, and we come back, and my husband immediately goes into his shop and has to build like 3 new walls or something crazy. But it's always fun. He loves coming to market. He loves meeting everybody, so it's always fun. But
it really is. It is the excitement. It's just indescribable. It really is
yeah,
because it just really sets the tone for you. And I find myself that that's the biggest thing this year for me is not going to retreats and not doing the classes. And yeah, I really miss that face to face. I haven't missed the travel. I will
yeah, I understand.
admit that it's been nice to not put all of those miles on my car and, to not have all of that time that I'm away from home.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I really missed seeing, like my fellow designers and all of the stitchers and just, really being invigorated from all of the
exactly.
spheres.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of creative energy that comes out of this kind of stuff. Like even, last night I was here until like 20 till 1 in the morning, and somebody said, "You've got to be really tired." I said, "I am really tired, but I'm running on adrenaline." I was just so invigorated by, watching people, what they were stitching and hearing what they were, excited about. It was just really kind of neat. And I know that that's important actually to the creative process is to get that feedback and that energy. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yes.